Now we are going to continue working on our FPS game. We'll be able to use this arm from Mixamo.com. Then we'll switch between idle and walk by creating the animator component and adjusting a parameter. So I want to apologize to you guys because I haven't created a video for a while. And without any further ado, let's dive right in. So first of all, you have to create this project using one of the templates that comes with Unity. This is the free FPS template that you can find from Unity Hub. It's called the Universal 3D Template or Sample. First of all, you have to download it and create the project. Once you do that, we are going to add the character or the arms using a free website that is called Mixamo.com. Under characters, we have different options like this one. Let's use it. Make sure to focus only on the arms because we are going to remove the other parts of the body using Blender. But before that, let's download the first animation, which is going to be our idle animation. By going to the Animations tab, search for Ready Idle, and let's pick up the first one because I want to see the arms in front of the camera. Next, we can download it by hitting the button. Make sure to select the FBX for Unity option, and we need the skin. Then we can hit download. I'm going to put it on my desktop. Also, we're going to need a walking animation or running animation. Let's search for walking. The same thing, I want to see the arm in front of the player. I think this is going to be okay. Also, I want to check in place because we are moving the character using the script. We only need the animation. Then we can hit download. And this time we don't need the skin. Now we can import this file under the Unity project by selecting it from the desktop. And let's drag it. I want to put it under the assets. Maybe I'm going to create a folder for that using create folder and call it character. Then let's drag these. As you can see, the material is not working, so we need to extract it by selecting the model. Then we have extract textures. Select the same folder, and this is going to fix the problem. Now the next step is to remove the parts that we don't want. We only need the arms. We're going to use a free software that is called Blender. You simply have to download it from the website blender.org by hitting the download button. It's available for Windows, macOS, and Linux, and the installation is very simple. Once you install the software, we can open it up, and then I'm going to select a general. By default, we have a cube and few elements. We're not going to use them. By hitting A, we can select everything, then X to delete. After that, I'm going to import the model by going to File, Import. The format is FBX. It's the first one, Ready Idle. Here I'm using the middle mouse to zoom in and out, and we rotate the scene by pressing the middle mouse. First of all, we have to select the part of the mesh by going to this hierarchy, and we only need the body and the other parts. Select the first one, then Shift, select the last one. After that, we need to go to the edit mode so that we can edit the mesh by hitting the tab key on the keyboard. By selecting the number 1 on the numpad, we can go to this front view so that we can see all of the parts. We only need the arms, but first of all, you have to hold down the Z key and select the wireframe mode, which allows you to select all of the faces that are behind the character and in front of it. And now I'm going to use the mouse to select the parts that I don't need. I think this is fine. Let's hit X to delete all of the faces. Then we can hit Tab again to go to the object mode. Now we are going to re-import the model. We have to go to File and export it as an FBX. I'm going to put it on the desktop and give it another name like FPS arms. Then we can hit export, and that's all what we have to do. Let's close Blender. We don't need it anymore. We only need the character arms. Let's drag it and put it under the same folder, character. And here it is. You could see it from the inspector. Now we want to use it in our project. To do that, we have the FPS controller. We're going to select the player capsule. Because it contains the camera, we want to put the character arms under the main camera so that we can see it and we can move with it. Go ahead and drag it under the camera root. For now, we can't see it. Let's move on to the scene view and double click on it. We have our camera under it, so we need to move the arm a bit down and let's move it forward along the z-axis. But the arm's still not showing because this project is using some kind of a layer. We only see the objects that have this specific layer. Make sure to select the FPS arm and go to the inspector. We can select a different one like camera and hit yes, and there you go. Now we are able to see the character. We can adjust a bit by changing the Y position as well as the Z position. We could also rotate it around the Z axis. And there you go, we have our arm. It's just moving the camera, so it looks like he's breathing. We are going to apply the animation that we want. Let's choose the first one, Ready Idle. It is this animation. If you use Ctrl D, we can extract it out of this module, and then we can apply it to our character. Make sure to select the armature and drag in Ready Idle, and that creates automatically the animator component. By default, it is called armature. We can rename it to something else, like animator. If you double click on it, the animator window will pop up, and we have Ready Idle by default. Here we are going to add the other animations, and we are going to switch between them. But let's check if it's working. Yeah, we have the idle animation, and it stops because we need to change other parameters. By selecting Ready Idle, we have to enable the loop time option, and now the character is playing the idle animation over and over again, and we can move with the AWSD keys. Now we need to switch the animation to the walking one whenever we start walking, and to do that we are going to open up the animator component, and we need to drag in the walking animation. Let's use Ctrl D and drag it. The same thing, make sure to select loop time. That's what we want. By default, the player is idle, but we want to make a transition from idle to walk, and we need to get back to the idle as well whenever we stop. But in order to switch between these, we have to select the transition and add some sort of a condition. Whenever we activate it, the player will go from idle to walk. From the inspector, I'm going to remove has exit time. And if you look down, the conditions is empty. We can hit the plus button to add a new one. We need to add some kind of a parameter that we can control from the code. We have this parameters tab. I'm going to add a new one. And normally we use a float variable for controlling the idle and the walking animation, which is going to be the speed of our character. And whenever the speed is greater than a certain value, like 0.1, we're going to go from idle to walk. And if it's 0 or less than 0.1, we're going to move back from walking to idle. Now we are able to select this condition, speed, and we are going to choose greater than 0.1. The same thing for the other transition. I'm going to remove has exit time and add the condition when the speed is less than 0.1. Finally, we are going to change this parameter from the code. By selecting the player capsule, you see that we have a first-person controller script. If you select it from here, it's going to appear under the scripts folder. Let's open it up by double-clicking on it. First of all, we have to reference our animator component so that we can adjust the speed parameter and access it. Let's go down and create this animator component. I'm going to put it under the player comment, private, animator, and call it animator. But if you declare an object as private, you will not be able to assign it from the inspector. Luckily, we can tell Unity that we want to change this from the inspector by adding square brackets and serialize field. Under the script, they have created a speed variable that changes with the speed of the player. We are going to use it. Before we can start moving the character using the move function, we are going to change the parameter from the animator component by using animator.setFloat. This takes in two arguments, the name of the parameter that we want to change, which is called speed, and the value that we want to put inside it. We are going to use _speed. And that's all what we have to change. We can save our script using Ctrl S and get back into Unity. Of course, we have to reference the animator component by selecting the script from the player capsule. And there you go, we have this animator component. Just drag in the armature that contains the animator. And I highly recommend you to save the changes to the prefab by selecting the prefab from the hierarchy. And on top, we have this option, overrides. And we need to apply all of the changes. Then we can hit play, and there you go, the character is idle by default. And if we start walking, we have the walking animation. You could also adjust it if you want. So I think that's pretty much it, guys, for this video. I hope you like it. If you have any question or comments, make sure to put it under the comments section down below. And I will see you in the next one.